Hello! We have a lively bunch. Thank you all for joining us. So my name is Amanda Malone. I'm from Roseborough Travel Agency. We are hosting with CIE today a wonderful talk about Ireland and Scotland. So they'll be bringing in some food in just a moment for everybody. Oh, it is there? And we have some drinks over here too. I really appreciate everybody coming out. There's Guinness, wine, and an Irish, what is it? Irish punch. Paddy's punch, that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you one of our clients who just went on last year, I think?
2016.
Okay, so a few years ago he was on a CIE tour and he said that he would come in and share a few of his pictures with us before we go ahead and bring on Jennifer from CIE. So Patrick, come on up. He worked with Greta.
Wait, his name's Patrick?
So if you'd like, would you love to share some information about your trip?
Sure.
Except there's time.
They're sideways. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to edit. Well, I had time to edit them, but Walmart let me down. They weren't. Their facility was shut down for the weeks before the date, so I couldn't fix everything. But that's my wife, Mary. That's me. So this is Martin Castle. We had a fantastic time. The tour was absolutely my first one. We've never been on campus before. It's the first one. We had to pick CIE Tours, and it was fantastic. That's Florida Castle. A lot of crazy shots. And you'll see a lot of flowers because I'm a florist, so I take lots of flowers. But we landed. We went to started out in Glasgow and ended up in Dublin. And it was a fantastic trip. Like I say, the experience that we had. Like I said, it's the only one I've ever been on, but all the rest of them are like that. It's fantastic. The driver we had was very knowledgeable. I have problems with my legs and stuff, and he took care of me like I was like a child. I mean, I couldn't go down the steps by myself. I couldn't. He was all over me. His name was Patrick too. So I kind of had a little thing, a little connection there. But and that's the Barney Studs right there when you see those little bars coming down. That line was so long. It was a 2-hour line.
It was reaching the embarrassed kids. I also went on a CIE tour and it was great. It was absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
I could see everything you said.
It was great. And the food was fantastic. The hotels were some of the best I've ever stayed in. There was one that was in January. Loved the shower. It was one of those big rain showers. I was in there an hour and a half. It was great. We had a really fantastic time.
Where was your favorite place that you went to?
The Cliffs of Moher. Actually, I like Scotland. Scotland's a little bare for me. I mean, it's not many trees. There's a lot of mountains, that kind of stuff. But Ireland was my favorite place, especially the Cliffs of Moher. I have pictures of that. I thought they were on the CD, but we'll see. If not, we'll find them. Oh, one of the gift stores. That's my family crest there. And we found out a little bit of information, not a whole lot. What else was I
So you said the accommodations were good, you loved the one shower. What about, you had asked Jennifer about the little gift that they give you. Will you talk about that?
You will get a backpack.
Oh, nice.
It's great because it's big enough just to throw your day stuff in. They give you a rain poncho, which I actually did use.
Everybody uses it.
We were at Trinity College. And it was a beautiful morning, everything looked great, and all of a sudden, the floodgates let loose. And so I whipped out my handy little poncho, and I walked around the entire place with that poncho on.
There's a reason it's so green there.
Yes. That's why they call it the Emerald Isle. Yes. And you get this lovely little pouch, and in this little pouch, I kept everything, by the way. So I really did. I kept my little luggage tag. And then Ireland. It was a trip from, he'd always wanted to go to Scotland. And I always wanted to go to England. Well, I haven't been to England yet.
I wouldn't know. I was 13 the last time.
Which is, I'm not exactly sure what this is.
Oh, that's for the tax.
What's that?
That's
I
for the
looked behind
tax.
you.
That's the tax.
Oh, that's because you're gonna spend money.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a tax refund, man.
And you
And
get
I
the tax
did,
back.
and I did, and I did, and I did.
You get it at the
Darn
airport.
right.
I'll show you some of the things that I bought. You get a now for Britain in Ireland. It has Scotland in there too. Just a nice little brochure telling you about all these different places you can do. See, that has my money in it.
So with all of your goodies,
This is our itinerary.
you got the little travel bag, the backpack, the poncho, all things to go, be prepared to go.
Correct.
So we often have the question, what do you have to wear? Is there anything dress up? Did you feel like you could just wear casual, comfortable clothes most of the time?
That's what I did all the entire time.
That's what you need to wear.
Yeah,
Very good.
comfortable, and make sure you have comfortable shoes.
Correct.
Because, like I say,
And it all.
I have leg and knee problems. So comfortable shoes I've learned to wear. Comfortable clothing, something loose fitting, short sleeves, kind of layered.
And a all weather.
Yes.
And all weather coat.
Very good.
We went to July. We went just before they had the military tattoos.
Yes, that's
We were there
August.
just before that. Unfortunately, we couldn't go to that. That started in August. My sister works works at a school, so she had me back to school. So we couldn't actually do that. But yeah, my daddy took us to made a trip for my wife, my sister, and myself. Took us to Ireland in Scotland. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Adopt me. Adopt me.
Yeah.
So Patrick has agreed to stay a little bit, and if anybody's interested after the presentation that Jennifer does, if anybody's interested, wants to see a picture of something, he brought 10 discs of CDs. So he has pictures of all the different destinations. If you have specific questions or want to see any destination, that he went to, he's agreed to stay, and we can put them up after the presentation as well. And be able to show more pictures also.
And the nice thing about the driver that we had, I'm a history buff, and we went to, we were in Scotland. We were coming out of Nairn, which was our first night there, full night. He took us to Culloden, which I don't know if anybody knows what that is. That's where the Jacobites and the English fought for the independence of Scotland. He took us by there, and he didn't have to. It was just a side trip that he took us on our way to Edinburgh. We were in Edinburgh that day. And the things I saw was incredible. I mean, the heather was just starting to bloom. And they were pointing out things that, if I took a car trip, I wouldn't know it was there. It was just fantastic. Then he took us to, we were in Dublin, our tour in Dublin. We went to Trinity College for the morning and a little bit of the afternoon. And then most of my tour group wanted to go to the Guinness brewery. That's not on the itinerary at all. But since there was enough of us that wanted to go, he actually drove us to the Guinness brewery and dropped us off. And they came and picked us up. Which, I mean, I've heard that not many places would do that. So as far as CIE, I mean, the guy was, all the guys you had were very knowledgeable. Like I said, they catered to you. It almost made them hand into it. So I cannot say enough about this tour company.
Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. We do a little bit of Croatian.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, but I can't say enough about going on and taking this tour because they're very knowledgeable and the driver was, he was brilliant. He got us out of a couple of sticky situations.
No doubt.
We almost got hit by another car, but he managed to get that bus around and got us, we didn't get hit. And we got on a hairpin turn coming out of the Ring of Kerry. Little bitty two-lane road, and we had a Winnebago coming in the other direction, and here's this picture of us coming the other direction. You just say we met in the middle. But he got us out.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful. And like I said, Patrick said he'll hang out and members wanting to go as well. And so we do have some little snacks up here. I'm not even 100% certain what they are, but if anybody's hungry right now, they're up here. They do have the heater underneath them too, so if nobody wants them right yet, but wants them afterwards, I'll just close the lid. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and start and introduce Jennifer from CIE, and she's going to tell you everything there is to know about traveling. Every single thing.
No pressure!
Jennifer, you'll be an expert.
How many of you did I meet at your event earlier? January? At the expo. Yay! That was in January. Can you believe that was? It's already March. What happened? My mother used to tell me, she said, you know, when she'd get mad at me, she'd say, young lady, you wait until you hit 40. Time goes fast, you need glasses, and you never pass the ladies' room, just in case. And it's funny, I wake up in the morning, and I look in the mirror, and I say good morning to my mother, because we all grow into our mothers eventually. I was telling you guys in the back, my mother told me red wine is a food group, and I'm not in a position to argue with her, so as far as I'm concerned. Well, my name is Jennifer Reynolds. I am originally Canadian, so if you do hear an oot and a boot, I come by it legitimately. Any of my fellow people in the room? No connects here? Wow. Well, I was born and raised in Canada. I've always worked in the travel industry. Went to cruise ships. Started working on ships when I was about 18 years old, so I've been very lucky. Well, actually, it was 19, 20. It was right after college. And the first experience, I worked on cruise ships for a long time for a place called Regency Cruises. Now, at that time with Regency, it was pretty neat. You know, not too many people had traveled a lot out of the country. I was only in my early 20s. Could you imagine your 26-year-old daughter then coming home and telling you that she's going to marry a juggler unicyclist? And that's what I did. I called my mother and said, by the way, Mom, I met this guy from Louisiana. I'm marrying a juggler unicyclist. And she said, ah, crap. You know, so I was on cruise ships for a long time. I was part of a duo juggling magic act. Eventually, I did get rid of the juggler. I married a PhD oceanographer. So my passion, my history, my love, like you, is history. Doesn't mean the C drive can remember everything. That's why I need to keep traveling, so somebody keeps feeding me that information. But I'm a travel junkie. I measure my world in terms of travel. I was following you, Amanda, on your trip to Africa, and I'm not going to lie, more than once you had me in tears when I was seeing those animals. I have not been to Africa. It's a dream trip. I tried to go there twice, and I am going to go. The third time is going to be my lucky time. But I measure my world in terms of travel. Some guys were coming to do some work on my house at one time in the pool. And he said, oh, you can put some marble in here and we could redo the jacuzzi for you, and here's the quote. And I looked at the quote and said, that's a week in Paris. Get out of here, I'm going to Paris. That's my priority. So that's what I love to do. And I work with CIE Tours. We do Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. Ridiculously well traveled. I love the world. I love geography. I love history. Travel to me is as important as breathing. It is so important for us to get around and see the world. And this is what the hub of what really I believe Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales are all about. And in our time together this afternoon, some of you have been. I'm hoping we can talk you into going back again. And as I shared with a couple of you, I don't know, I've never met anyone who didn't like Ireland. I met a gentleman once who said he didn't care for the food. And then as we talked about it a bit further, he said his idea of lunch was Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I told him that's not food. We need to get past that. But you'll be well fed and well watered. We're going to focus on Ireland. We'll look at Scotland. We'll look at England as well. We're also going to look a little bit at Wales as we go through all of this. But CIE is a guided vacation company. We are an Irish company. CIE is Gaelic for something those of us that don't speak Gaelic have no idea what it means, so we simply say crucified Irish employees and just pray that our manager doesn't hear us. But we focus on Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales, and we've been doing this part of the world for 87 years. CIE is actually owned by the Irish government. We are part of the transportation division, believe it or not, of the Irish government. So it's a very good job to be working for CIE. And that's why those travel directors that you all have, it's the same all the time. It's all I ever hear is how magnificent they are. It's just beautiful. As a country, let's look at Ireland. It is only about the size of South Carolina. The scenery is absolutely exquisite. When we look at a place like Dublin, yeah, you're going to see the city center, but in my mind, this is really the heart of what Ireland is all about. Dublin is where most people come into. There's also an airport at Shannon. But there it is, my friends, 3, 4, 5 stories high. Buildings, they don't have lifts to go up to the top. These are walking streets. They're next door to pubs, to restaurants, to shops. That is about as built up as it's going to get in the countryside or in the country of Ireland. And that's the thing I think that makes it so magnificent. It's just not overdone. If you've been to Europe and you've done Venice or Rome or places in Spain, it's nothing like that at all. It's really not. This is something so very, very different. But that is about as built up as you're going to get in Dublin proper. Do you know there are actually more people buried in Glasnevin Cemetery than walk the streets of Dublin today? Peak season in Ireland and in all this part of the world is June, July, and August. I love the travel in the spring and fall. I love March, April, May, September, October, November. If you all have a choice and you don't have kids in school and you're not teachers, because they don't have a choice, they go and travel in June, July, and August. That's why I love to see people travel outside of that period of time. But in my mind, this is kind of what sums it up. There's a peacefulness, there's an easiness. And you said it, when you went to Ireland, the minute you landed, you felt something. And you felt peaceful. And there was a travel agent friend of mine, I was traveling and talking with her, and she was going over to Ireland again after having been there a number of times. And she said, I can't explain it, my heart just sings when I'm here. I'm happiest when I'm in this country. And I see you nodding, and you get it. You know, you've been bit by the bug. There's just nothing like this place. When you get into Ireland and with CIE, we have 3 styles of vacation. We have guided vacations where you have a travel director with you. We also have self-drive. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm not a gigantic fan. And we've also got the private car and drivers. But in Dublin, when we go to see the Book of Kells, you go to see the town itself. It's a walking town. Good walking shoes, dress in layers. It'll be gorgeous or cold in the morning. You'll have 3, 4, 5 layers on, and guess what? They just all come off 1 layer at a time. Well, like they say in so many other places, if you don't like the weather, wait an hour and it'll change. To your point, Amanda, there's a reason why the grass is green in Ireland. You don't tan, you rust, my friends. So yes, you need to bring a jacket. There's no rainy season. It's not like here where we have that June 1st to November 30th sort of deadline where we all learned a long time ago to never schedule anyone on a flight out of Florida between 3 and 5 in the afternoon in June, July, and August because you're going to get rained out. In Ireland, you're just going to experience some rain. You'll get your backpack. You'll get everything you need with you. It's just not a problem. You know what they love to say? There's no such thing as inappropriate weather. There is only inappropriate clothing. That's how people think here. It's the countryside, it's the beautiful, the scenery. You're only dealing in a place that's about the size of South Carolina. The distances you're traveling are not going to be very far. Blarney Castle, seeing Blarney Castle and kissing Blarney Castle. Instinct tells me I better run for the hills if I get anywhere near Blarney Castle. I don't need any more gift of the gab. But when I see Blarney Castle, I'm also reminded that not all travel agents are created equal as well. You're very fortunate, Roseborough. You guys really know your way around. It's pretty amazing. Not long ago, and it was this year, I had a travel agent who called me, and bless her heart, she was being very nice about it. She was determined that her travelers were going to stay overnight in a castle, and she wanted them to be in Blarney Castle. Oh yeah. So, when I tell you, Miss Amanda, that I'll travel agent, and then I probably said to her, well, it would be an uncomfortable park bench. Let's take that a little bit further. Well done, my girl. Well done. This is Blarney Castle. When you go through Ireland, the distances are not far. As the crow flies, sure, it may take 10 or 15 minutes. There's no such thing as the crow flies. You're going to be going around and up and down and across everything. I want you to remember this picture in your mind when I talk to you later about driving Ireland yourself. And I'm driving back to Tampa tonight. So when I look at that and I think about heading out on I-4, I'm not sure what's preferable. I think this might be preferable out of more, actually, at the end of the day. This is the scenery, this is the greenery, this is the beauty. As you look to the west of this, the next piece of land you're looking at, it's my country. It's Newfoundland in Canada. The cliffs of Roseborough, they're exquisite, and yes, you will probably experience all 4 seasons in one time here. The Irish do a tremendous job of looking after their resources here. When you come into the cliffs of Roseborough, there's a parking area, there's a great little visitor center, and I've got a number of images here that you'll be able to see, and you walk along the top edge, of course, behind a barrier. Can't stress it enough, sensible walking shoes. This is just not a big deal, my friends. If there's something you don't have with you, you buy it there. Nothing is a problem in this part of the world. And when you go up, I don't know if anyone is Game of Thrones, sorry. Oh, I've got to be the only one weighing on that bandwagon, I'm telling you. But my heart stopped when I walked up to the Dark Hedges in Northern Ireland. There are over 70 filming locations of Game of Thrones in Ireland alone. They also film in Croatia as well. Winterfell, there's a whole set that's been created here. And being able to see the Dark Hedges in the northern part of Ireland. There aren't a lot of fast food restaurants and things. This is a country and a place where food is meant to be eaten and enjoyed. Food and dinner does not come from a drive-through window. You sit down. Much of the food that you'll be tasting in this part of the world is farm to table. Ireland's been doing that for ages. Their beef is phenomenal. I had no idea carrots had taste until I ate in one of the local pubs. And then the waiter pointed down the street and he said, well, our carrots come from the farm right down there. They're only 3 miles away. Kind of nice to know. You will be well fed, you'll be well watered, things are not overdone. This is the scenery and what you're looking at. In the northern part of Ireland, going into Derry and Londonderry, taking in what it means to be a Northern Irelander versus the rest of the country. Earlier this year, Brexit was passed. What happens to Northern Ireland with Brexit? Northern Ireland is part of England and they're on the pound. In your book you shared with me that beautiful photograph of Ronan, who is one of the local guides we've used for years in Derry or Londonderry, which is the outskirts of where Giant's Causeway is here, and there's Derry right there. Ronan is the only Buddhist in the entire country of Ireland. He lives in Londonderry. He's quite famous throughout the country itself. Ronan does all of our tours, and he'll talk about the conflict, what it was like then, what it's like today. The one thing he said to me that stood out in my mind so exquisitely, though, I was there not long after Brexit, and he said, our children here in Ireland don't know what borders are. And now that we have this Brexit thing, we're not sure what this is going to mean to Northern Ireland. He said the children of Northern Ireland, the only reason they know that they're crossing a border to get into the area of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, is because their self-service changes on their phone and their phone goes to roaming, which means the charge is double. Can you imagine? There's no sign, there's nothing that says you've just left Northern Ireland, you're here. That's what this place is about. It's a massive juxtaposition in what's going forward, what's happening. Northern Ireland is just magnificent. I got all the time in the world for this area. Get over to Kylemore Abbey, that was once where nuns were living. That was then a school. Now there is a number of nuns, about 13 nuns that live here in Kylemore, and the exquisiteness of this. It's very expensive to keep these buildings up. In many places you go in Europe these days, you find that you pay entry fees to go into the churches or anywhere else because it is just so darn expensive to keep them up. If you watch Downton Abbey, Marathon watched it over Christmas, then followed it with The Crown. Now I'm completely addicted. I want to go to Pitlockery and everything else. You know, you see it all. But what did the folks do? The people that own the grounds, they open it up to tourism because it's so darn expensive to maintain this stuff. And that's what you're going to see all over this area. The Skellig Islands, many of our tours will visit the Skellig visitor site. If you are going out to a movie and you see the new Star Wars movie, much of it was filmed over on the Skellig Islands here. The Skellig Islands are off the coast. Monks lived here a long time ago. It's unbelievable to think how they could have not only lived, but actually prospered on this particular island out in the Atlantic Ocean off of the coast. And there's the Skellig Islands themselves. There are times times during the year if you're really ambitious where you can get on a boat ride and go over to the Skellig Islands and then put your feet into the pretty much straight ladder that will take you up onto the Skellig Islands. And we get 5 or 6 people a year that might like to do that. I may have worked on cruise ships for over 18 years, and I have a really solid stomach, but I don't think I could handle that ride on that boat over from the mainland to the Skellig Islands. This part of the world is all about people. People, places, and pubs. It's the 3P. That's what makes it so magnificent. The cliffs of Moher, the greenery, the scenery. The pubs and the simplicity. The fact that they like us, they actually like us. And most of us have probably got some sort of family history in this part of the world. Kind of like that commercial, you know, the guy that traded his lederhosen. What is he? For a kilt. You know, I wanted to do something for ages. I wanted to do a DNA party. Like give everybody, like have a group like this, do DNA, then have you swab your DNA and get it all back and have a party and we open it and go, hey, what are you? I'm afraid to find out what I'm going to be. You're going to be well fed, you're going to be well watered. Look, the British Isles are islands. You're surrounded by water all the way around. The food is good, the soup is good, the stews are very good. And I'm not so sure when you get over into Ireland, though. Well, when you get over into Scotland, I'm beginning to think these guys were a little close to the whiskey distillery and the can of paint. But as you can tell, sheep are a very important part of the economy, and you must be able to find your own. Yeah, I think they were hanging out at the whiskey distillery, no question. The food, the haggis in Scotland. When you look at Scotland and England, they're 2 different animals. So many people will put them together and say, oh, I've seen Ireland, I've seen Scotland. Not true at all. I did have someone once say to me, oh, you Canadians, you just want to be Americans. No, not it at all. It's a completely separate, distinctive culture and people. Mother Nature made things differently. Don't mix these 2 cultures up because they're 2 entirely different things. The kilts, the music, the singing, the dancing, the history, the foods, the scenery. You had mentioned, indeed, the almost barrenness of, and I think that's probably a good word when you get up into the highlands. I find that very open and very welcome and receiving. My brother, who lives in Australia, finds that phenomenally enclosing. He just doesn't find any solace in an area like this. I had a girlfriend of mine who went to Ireland, or she was in Scotland earlier this year, and she wasn't prepared to like it as much as she did. She said that Scotland, again, really hit her soul. It was a lot simpler than she expected it to be. It was green, it was beautiful, harder to understand the people. She loved the food. But she said there was just a simplicity and a beautifulness everywhere. But she said things always felt a little on the moist side, a little on the damp side. Remember in the British Isles, their winter seasons are very moderate. Now they have that gorgeous Gulf Stream, you know, that beautiful Gulf Stream current that runs by the British Isles, and that's why there's palm trees that actually live, if you will, in this part of the world. So the winters are mild, but they're wet. And that means things can get a little bit damp. So have a little kindness when you get up into the highlands of Ireland themselves. Let's experience things like the Highland Games, and I don't know what they wear under their kilts, but I do know those gentlemen look magnificent in these cultural pieces. Come on, I saw Outlander, I'm no dummy. Look at Edinburgh here. Edinburgh Castle down one end, and that mile, I want to call it the Miracle Mile, it's not, it's the Royal Mile. Miracle Mile is in Miami. The Royal Mile here. Down the other side in Edinburgh, and there's another shot of Edinburgh, and I happen to be a big fan of these hop-on, hop-off buses. I like those very much. But every year in the month of August is one of the greatest military tattoo festivals, and I am going to see this before I die. It is one of the most magnificent. It started in 1949 as a tradition in this part of the world. There's 2 other places in the world where there are festivals like this. One of them, both of them actually, were in my home country. One is in Toronto, and the other is in Halifax, in Nova Scotia, Canada. Yet this is the mother lode. Every August, 2 performances a night. Each performance runs approximately 90 minutes. Every departure we have during the month of August that goes through Edinburgh when the tattoo is on includes tickets to this festival. There is not a bad seat in the house. It is impossible to have a bad seat in the house. What this military festival is are pipe and drum corps from all over the world that fly in to perform here. It is magnificent. And it is considered to be the, in capital, the, in the world, as far as this festival is concerned. Get over to Glasgow. Glasgow's a much more art-focused area. You get a little more political, more of the historical side in Edinburgh. Glasgow's only 45 minutes away, the other side. It doesn't matter if you start or end in Glasgow. But look at it here. In Glasgow, just a little bit of a different look, and it's a little more artsy. Going up to St. Andrews, and yes, you can play St. Andrews. We're out here on a golf course. I'm not going to pretend to be a golfer, but you can play St. Andrews. You need your handicap from your home golf club, and you can look at on some of our tours or play St. Andrews as well. But the real majesty that exists in Scotland is getting out of these cities into the countryside, being blown away and kind of unexpected by pastel-colored beach scenes in Scotland. I mean, who would have in a million years ever thought of anything like that? Harry Potter and I love this train. I'm a bit of a junkie. I love trains as well. But I love that scenery when you're looking at Ireland there. And yeah, we are talking castles. Glamis Castle and so many others that are there. We have tours that stay in hotels that will stay in some castles. We have other tours that will tour and visit some of the castles in Scotland as well. And then that really takes us to England. Now when I look at London, London is such a busy city center. Myself personally, I'm a little more fond of the gentleness and the simpleness of the countryside. But I love the theater and I love the food here. It's so easy to get in and out of London. But London is just one thing. I mean, do the Tower of London and all the neat stuff in London proper. And London's expensive. It's not one of, the more, yeah, you're correct. London's pricey. Ireland, Scotland, not so bad. But do the changing of the guard and see some of the scenery. But I really believe when we get a lot of people who travel with us to England, we get out to places like Bath and Stonehenge. It's the magic, it's the mystery. I was watching something on television a few weeks ago, and they have found something, and I have a photograph in here a little later. These are henges, H-E-N-G-E, not hedge, henge with an N. They have actually found recently some more henges in Scotland, in the Orkney Islands, under the ocean right off of the coast, which is to the point where, because nobody really knows where these came from or how they originated, and it's fascinating when you think of that association. What are the henges doing here? And then, of course, off the coast in northern Scotland. The English villages, this is what rocks my world. The thatches and the colors and the gardens. And we know they get those magnificent gardens because, once again, you don't tan, you rust in this part of the world. But look at those exquisite sceneries in the Cotswolds. And we've got a lot of itineraries that will do just England or just Scotland or just Ireland or what the heck, combine them together. I've always loved the Cornwall area. When I worked on cruise ships, we would go in there with quite a bit of great regularity. I just remember there being a tremendous amount of bees when we were there, for whatever reason, and the bees would come around you a lot. And I'm looking for something, there it is right here. So when you're looking at Cornwall, and this is an area that I like in Wales. Wales is very unexplored. Most people don't know Wales very much. You may have gone in on a cruise ship and you may have gone into Cardiff. Cynefin Castle may sound familiar to you. But I think one of the reasons Wales is so magnificent is because of this gentleman right here. You know who he is? My Delilah. I know the words. Yeah. Home of Tom Jones in Wales, and I absolutely love it. Cynefin Castle. This to me sums up Wales in a nutshell. Misunderstood, a little bit foggy, something big and outrageous on the top. That is really what I think Wales is all about. Very few Americans have ever been to Wales. It's not a well-traveled place. There's over 600, the remnants of over 600 castles, and trust me, we're not going to put you to sleep in any of them unless they've got rooms. But there's the remnants of over 600 castles along the outskirts here. It is magnificent. For those that are on the edge of traveling, it is just not a well-traveled place. You know, Iceland, how so many people are going to Iceland these days. This is kind of where Iceland was about 5 or 6 years ago. So I say very strongly, keep your eye on Wales. Yep, the language is not that easy. There is the Welsh, and that is the longest word in the Welsh language, and I am not going to attempt that. But there is the scenery, and really what is the magnificence in the Snowdonia Mountains. You will be seeing more of Wales coming up. The Welsh Tours Board have done a tremendous investment in the United States. You'll be seeing a lot of things on PBS and commercials coming up. And these Snowdonia Mountains are absolutely magnificent. Train rides through here, you can do coach rides and stay up in the mountains. And let's face it, we just don't have anything that looks anything like that here in Florida, do we? Let's just say that scenery, it's a lot prettier than Alligator Alley was earlier this morning. But you will be well fed and well watered. Breakfast is included every day. Treat yourself, you know, be on your best behavior. And you will discover that there's always a bottle of whiskey on the breakfast buffet. Make a little friend there. Oh, we got a little dram for your coffee in the morning. But you will be well fed, you'll be well watered. On our guided vacations, we include breakfast. We include about 80% of the dinners on most of our guided. But I like the food. It's fresh, it's good. It's soups and stews. Come on, those cows have been noshing on all of that green grass that's been so well rained forever. Soups and stews. When you go to the grocery store here, some of the best cheese and bread you buy is Kerrygold. Anybody from Wisconsin? Nobody? Do you know in the state of Wisconsin, Kerrygold cheese is illegal. Kerrygold product. It's illegal. Good dairy board. You gotta admit they got a good dairy board, but Kerrygold is illegal. People who live in Wisconsin have to go over the border someplace else. But with us at CIE, here's what it is. Those of you that have been on our journeys, I warmly, I thank you for exploring our country. Two, I thank you for keeping me employed. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a job. But with CIE Tours, we've been around 87 years, and we are very good at what we do. And it was a travel agent that once said to me, if any of my clients are going to Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, we always put them on CIE. If they're going somewhere else, I got a lot of other choices. And the way she phrased it to me is she said, hey, if we're going out to eat Italian food, I'm going to an Italian restaurant. I'm not going to a Chinese restaurant and ordering Italian food. This is the part of the world that we're best at. We're owned by the Irish government. This is us. We own it. That's our property. We do really well in it. And what I love also in our tours, and I'll pick up one of the brochures and show you here, when you look at any of our brochures, and Amanda made a very interesting decision, last-minute decision this afternoon I'll share with you. But when we look at any of our tours in our brochure here, what you'll see is a map on the upper left-hand side. You'll see the hotels that you'll be staying in, and if we ever change the hotels, I make no apology for it. If there's something's gone wrong, if we move or change your hotel, you don't want to be in that original hotel. Trust me, we got you back. Down here at the bottom are all of the sites and things that you will see. Your day-by-day activity is listed out here. And on the far right-hand side is the price block. We don't put a lot of sales on either. Two reasons. One, it's too confusing. And two, we're going to sell out. We don't have to put anything on sale. But CIE does something that I am very proud of, and this is a wonderful single supplement. I happen to have opened this on Best of Ireland South, and I'm looking at an itinerary, land only, let's say July 1945, so let's say $2,000 per person based on a double occupancy, and that's doing everything, feeding you, watering you, not flying you there, that's everything there. And if you're traveling single, that single supplement is $375. Wow. It's very affordable. I once said to my husband, I said, keep it up, Buster. The next trip we go on, I can afford to get my own room. I'll put you in your own single room. These single supplements are excellent, and it is something I'm very, very proud of with CIE. For those of us that do travel single, it is a really huge deal. And with our travel directors as well, they're like your best uncle. And so it's something that I'm very proud of with our single supplements. I think it's really terrific. And it's unfortunate that there are more women than men in this world that do travel single, and it is a magnificent place for those of us to travel to. Our travel directors have been with us forever. I'm going to use the word mature. It is like traveling with your favorite uncle. You earn your way up to CIE. They do not sell optional tours. When you open and look at our brochure here, and you see everything that's included, you never open your wallet with us again. We do not sell optional extras, and that's a really big deal for two reasons. One, it allows us to attract a little more caliber, a better caliber travel director. Let's just say those guys don't sell optional tours. They've moved past that in their life. You know what I mean? And the other side is it really lets them focus on the journey of where they are. Instead of you having to get your credit card out and talk about tours tomorrow, let's talk about where we are. You do not pull your credit card out another time on our tours, and I think that is really magnificent. What a buzzkill when you get a bill halfway through a tour. You know, when you're suddenly going, crap, I gotta go pay for this. It's much nicer to deal with it in the beginning and just simply be done with it. My colleague Dan and some of our travel directors, they are a little bit more mature. It is like traveling, but you know what? When you're good, you kind of get the best. The waiters that are working at Roost Chris are not going to go back and work it out back steakhouse. And that's kind of like what it is with our guys. With the transportation division of the government, the motor coaches are comfortable. You're not traveling any long distances without stretching your legs, no matter what country you're in. They're Wi-Fi equipped, they're restroom equipped, very, very, very comfortable, which is nice. Now, in terms of accommodations, we've got in our guided as well as anything else, we can do 5-star in castles all the way through if you want. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if you'd like to mortgage your firstborn, I'd be delighted. We can put a terrific trip together for them. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you insist on traveling in June, July, and August, you're going to pay a little bit of a premium because that's peak season. Hey, y'all, it's season down here in Florida. A Holiday Inn that I can get for $85 in July is $210 right now. Same thing here. The pure economics of supply and demand. If you want to stay in fabulous 5-star, we can make it happen. There's incredible mid-range accommodations that appeal to me greatly. It's not Hiltons and Holiday Inns and Marriotts. These are properties that have characteristics and style. Around the corner, down a stair, maybe around a corner, back up again, and lo and behold, you've got a magnificent room. You will be well fed, you will be well watered, you will be well looked after. But if you want to do some high-end things, we can certainly make that happen. Dromoland Castle, which is just a few minutes from Shannon Airport. Ashford Castle, which was the summer home of the Guinness family. God, it's good to be the king, isn't it? Wow. That was their summer home. It is owned by Red Carnation Hotels. About 3 years ago, they put 13 million euros into this property, and it is exquisite. The average room night, though, generally for any castle in Ireland starts at about 500 euros a night. So I am always very surprised. I had someone not long ago say, well, I have $175 and I'd like to stay in a castle. That's not going to happen. We could probably position you on a bench outside the castle, but that might be about it. They're just very different experiences, and you had that experience. You went in, I loved it. I was in Ashford Castle. I stayed at the back end. But I will say I had one complaint. Talk about a first world problem. Far too much coffee and Baileys or something like that. So at 1 in the morning, I decided to have a bath, which was really sensible. Fill in the bathtub. The marble bathtub was so stinking thick that I could not get a hot bath to save my life. All the hot water went into the marble. What a first world problem. What a dramatic problem. My biggest problem of the day was that I couldn't get a hot bath because the marble was too thick. May that be our biggest worry of the day in staying in a castle in this part of the world. Look at things like starting in Dublin, getting down to New Ross and Waterford, a couple of nights in Killarney, the cliffs of Moher. All of this is looking towards Canada. Up to Donegal and Derry, finally back to Dublin again. The Dunbrody famine ship, which is a replica, she brought all of the people from Ireland to Canada and sank actually right outside the St. Lawrence Seaway. Oh, could you imagine if these bulkheads could talk? There, of course, is Blarney Castle. Waterford at the top. Waterford makes the commission pieces in Ireland now. Our Cliffs of Moher. And then the Titanic Museum in Belfast. I'll talk about that in a moment. It's the greenery again and the scenery and the raw stunningness of this country that makes it so exquisite. And the Titanic Museum that was opened not that long ago, the first year it opened, it beat visitor expectations by 4 times. If it looks like a cruise ship, it should. It is built in Belfast. Was built, and the location of the Titanic Museum is at the shipyard where the Titanic was built. The specs on the ship, or on the museum, are the identical specs from the Titanic herself. And you gotta give the Irish a lot of credit. I've been desperately looking for this t-shirt and I can't find it. But there is a t-shirt around and it says the Titanic on the front. And it says she was just fine when she left here. That's the first one the Irish have. And the second one, it says the Titanic, the Irish built her, and on the back it says the British sank her. So when you get up into the Titanic Museum, I love it. If you have been out and seen the traveling exhibit, this is nothing like it at all. The Titanic exhibit here tells the story of the Titanic from the people who built her, from the town, from the country standpoint. The last section before you exit for me was one of my favorites. My husband, after I dumped the juggler, the oceanographer, did a lot of work with a gentleman by the name of Bob Ballard. And Bob Ballard found the Titanic. And the last section in here is all the science, how Bob Ballard found it. Alvin, which was the remote operated vehicle, how they discovered it, they found it, the politics behind it, the people, how they dove on it. Just a magnificent, magnificent, magnificent museum. And I have all the time in the world for Belfast. These guys have been beat up so bad forever, and their economy is coming back so strong. There's industry up here now. There is a lot of pharmaceutical. There's technology going, and it's just off and running. In Scotland, you can start here in Glasgow, do Glen Eagles for a few nights up into Inverness, and yes, that is the sister city to our little Inverness. Glamis and St. Andrews, back down to Edinburgh again with the Glenfiddich Distillery, doing the visit to Stirling Castle itself. And I love the Scottish Isles and Glens for one reason in particular, and it's because of the Orkney Islands right up here. This I-10 starts in Glasgow. I got 53. So Glasgow, then out to the Isle of Skye for a couple of nights, up into the northern end, 2 nights. Up here in the Isles, in the Orkney Isles, where you take a ferry over to get to the Orkneys. Pitlochry, there it is, and starting coming back down into Edinburgh again. There's that magnificent scenery with the Scottish evening, and everything you see on those iTunes, you don't pull out your wallet again. The Isle of Orkney to me is exquisite. When I worked on cruise ships, I was on ships for over 18 years. I called into the Orkneys a number of times, and at that time, I think it was on Silver Cloud at that time, they only had 1 bus, and that was a school bus, and we had 290 passengers on the ship, so we would rotate everybody through. Yeah. So now you get a chance to see that part of the world. Not too many people can say that they've been over to the Orkney Islands. But the Scottish Highlands and these areas, and there's that great shot of the Orkneys on the top end. In Edinburgh, and of course, that month of August when the Edinburgh tattoo is. Now we're coming to an end here, but as we look at Wales in England, I got a lot of time for Wales, but it ain't the easiest place in the world to get at. There's Coniferin here, you've got Cardiff, so this is part of England, that's Cornwall here. So you can come into London here, and the other airport's Manchester, which is right over here. And look here from London, Stonehenge and Bath, and overnight in Cardiff, up through Snowdonia with a couple of nights there. Make your way Stratford-upon-Avon, again being Canadian, a very sensitive spot for myself and my fellow countrymen. There's that train over there in Snowdonia and Bath that you can see. Or hang out just in Britain, into London, out to Windsor. A couple of nights, love this area, it's just exquisite. Down in Plymouth, which is Cornwall. And then into Cardiff, you just touch a little bit on Wales, because this is Wales right here. So you got Scotland, all of England, and that's Wales right there. We forget, that's a different country, but it is. And then up to Gretna Green, and then up into Edinburgh on that one. And there's just some photographs that you can see. These sheepdog trials are magnificent. I love animals, but to see these dogs handle these sheep, and they can take a herd of sheep and narrow them down to one is just exquisite. So the Taste of Scotland and Ireland, this is a rather interesting thing because earlier today, this one decided we need to have a trip next year, this time next year, to Scotland and Ireland. So this is what we chose. We chose the Taste of Scotland and Ireland for March of next year. A group going with Amanda and Roseborough Travel. Literally, this was 3 hours ago this afternoon we made a decision. I love the way you pre-planned.
It's been on my list of things to do.
And look how we got it knocked off our list to do. Look here, when we come in, you start in Glasgow, up to Nairn, which was one of your favorites in the northern end. Pitlochry, St. Andrews, a couple of nights in Edinburgh. No military tattoo, you're going in March, you're not going to go in August. You take the ferry over to the northern part of Ireland. That ferry ride is not long at all, quite enjoyable. Very, very, very pleasant. Did you do that ride? It's lovely, it's really nice. Actually, it's almost like having a little break between, it's like, okay, need to put Scotland behind me, there's my little boat ride, and now bring it on, Ireland. Over here into Belfast with the Titanic Museum, a couple of nights in Dublin, lots to see, stop at Cashel, kiss the Blarney Stone. You'll always have 2 nights in this part of Ireland. You need 2 nights to do the Ring and Kerry, and you will be ever so grateful you're not doing the driving. When you see how that 100-mile thing goes around, you'll be ever so glad it's not you. And then we'll do the Cliffs of Moher with an overnight at Bunratty. My first trip to Ireland, I fussed a little bit. I did not want to go to Bunratty. I did not want to do the medieval banquet.
Oh my God.
It was
wonderful.
so much fun.
And then the oldest pub.
Dirty Nellies.
Dirty Nellies.
Dirty Nellies.
Is the best time.
Right across the street.
Across the road.
Yeah. That's, the whole thing about pubs in Ireland is they're not drinking pools. They're places where you go and you socialize and meet
Every
people and you sing.
single
Awesome.
pub that we went to, by 9 o'clock, there was local musicians.
Oh, yeah.
That would come in.
Oh, yeah.
It was the most incredible music.
And play the
Every
piano
night.
or guitar,
Every night.
walk into a pub, say, hey, I play, they'll move over, in you go. One of my colleagues was a tremendous pianist, and she went in and just started, he went, hey, come on in, I need a break. And she was pounding away, and we were singing our little hearts out. And that was at Dirty Nellies.
Oh,
I never thought I could do that on a Wednesday night.
It was wonderful.
I'm usually in bed by like 11 o'clock with Anderson Cooper. So this is what we're looking at, friends, and that's what this time next year. Starting in Glasgow, we're going to fly in and out of MCO, what's that, Orlando? And Orlando direct, because you have that great direct flight over to Dublin. And that's a direct flight, so it's easy peasy for you. And then with your meals and things included, we'll have a flyer and information for you, but we're pretty excited about this. And I think it's...
We're leaving March 12th, which means we will be in Dublin on St. Patty's Day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a little strategy behind this one. So there you go. That's what we're going to do next year. So the last couple of things I'll leave you with are this. Independent Ireland, yes, you can do Ireland independently. For any of you that are, I don't know, God protects the dumb and the innocent. If you rent a car, I don't know which you are. But you can do, we can do a car rental for you with secure accommodation in the car. Bed and breakfasts, hotels, whatever you like. The distances are just not far. It's only a couple of hours. We only do that in Ireland. But here, look, I read a statistic that said 72% of rental cars in Ireland are returned without side mirrors. So do your own math. And the other thing that's a dead giveaway is that no insurance policy in the country of Ireland will cover tires. So what does that tell you? You're going to blow a tire, right? It's going to happen. Can it be done? Yes. Oh, one guy, by the way, he was son of a gun. He was too cheap, he got the standard instead of the automatic. And it really wasn't that much more, I don't want to pay any more money. And then he said to me, every time I reach for the gear shift, I open the door and darn near fell in oncoming traffic. Because it's the opposite side. I said, you dummy. But anyway, and then private driver. Look, we can do the driving, you do the guided vacations. There's like 50 some odd of these in here. Most people, as they'll say to me, if it's not in here, it probably doesn't exist because we've been doing it for that long. But you can drive it yourself or a private car and driver. With private car and driver, 1 to 9 people. We just create an itinerary for you. Whatever it is you'd like to do.
We did the drive-by.
You what?
We got a ticket when we got.
You did not.
Yep.
You got a ticket?
Yeah.
When you got home?
Yep.
What was it for?
Speeding.
Speeding. And it was already too late because we'd been gone like 32 days, so when we got the ticket at home to pay
It was
it, we
already
had to
canceled.
pay.
Well, it's already paid. It's already goes on your credit card. You signed for that. Yeah.
Pay all the penalties and everything, so.
It's a lot.
Over $100.
Hello. Italy does the same thing, by the way, too, in Rome. Italy does the same thing. And you weren't caught. You weren't pulled over, right? It was the camera that got you?
We had no idea.
No, busted! Woo, you were busted. Italy does the same thing with one-way roads and parking and things. And as one guy said to me, I'm just not going to pay it. Well, guess what? It's on your contract, on your credit card. You don't pay it, you're going to be sued. Or you will never be able to rent a car again. There'll be a lien against you. So they will get you one way or the other. You went speeding. You got busted.
Yeah, they went 35.
Did you tell your kids?
Yes,
And what did they say?
they said leave it to Dad.
I like that family.
And then we got behind an Irish funeral in this little town. And we're like, why is it taking so long to get through this little place?
Hours.
And it was a funeral.
Yeah, we had no
And we got caught right at the beginning of the town,
Oh, yeah.
and they walked all the way through town.
Of course they did. But they probably stopped in 4 pubs along the
They
way.
probably did.
Yeah, but he's surprised. Yeah, but he's surprised. Well, a magnificent family destination. Next time, take the kids. Let them do the driving.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
whether it's the grandkids or we do see a lot of families that come over to this part of the world. Now, I want to leave you with 2 things. It's interesting, this week has been the first time I've ever offered, I've been with CIE over almost a year now, first time I've ever offered any kind of a discount at all, so it's still kind of new to me. But with what we do here, with you spending our time here this afternoon, if you decide that you would like to do a trip with CIE outside of the group, because that's a different animal, if you decide you'd like to travel with us on one of our guided vacations for this year or next year, anything that's here in the brochure, you let Amanda and our team know here at Roseborough Travel and we will give you a 10% discount. Now, you don't have much time, my friends. I'm sorry. I wish it was more. It's not. I'm not in control. It's just 2 days. Today is Wednesday, is it? Or is it Tuesday? It's Wednesday. By the time the weekend rolls around, if you want 10% off, you got to give her your credit card if you want the 10% off. Next week, we will have a 7% savings, and that is only for those of you, that are here and through Amanda Roseborough. If you've got family or friends that want to come with you, by all means, we'll extend it. And then for 5% for a month. And that's the special savings for you for being here with us for tonight. Now, or this afternoon. Now, it is St. Patrick's Week, so I'm going to muddy the waters just a little bit. And that is, we have an air deal to Ireland right now. Air deal to Ireland out of the east coast of the U.S. This is for travel for this year, 2018. And it is out of the east coast, which in our case would either be Miami or Orlando or Boston, wherever you are on the east coast, $499 round trip. But you can't have both. You can't have both. You can have one or the other. That's where your math skills come in, and we do the math additions and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have 5% up early booking?
We do. And that's true on the group. That it's also darn new with the group. And again, we just don't do a lot of this now. But with the group, and again, that's only a few hours old, there is a 5% early booking discount. But when they go away, they're gone, and they never come back again.
Until she told me she would send it over with the contract.
Yeah.
It's only for like a month.
It's a really short period of time.
To the area.
For the airfares on those 3 trips, it takes
Yeah.
the
It's
Irish
just those 3 trips.
Well, actually, this is an example of them. there are any of our Ireland only, any of our Ireland guided vacations in 2018.
In Ireland.
Ireland,
Okay.
this year. And if you have any questions, we can tell about it a little bit afterwards. So there